Yeah, I didn't go live. No, not at all. Good evening. It's Wednesday at 9 o'clock. This is the Whatnot Podcast, where we put the what into whatnot. I am Mike Z.
I'm Chris, and welcome to the show. Looks like we're having fun at a turning symposium or something in the background there. Oh, this is our guest this week, Chris, with the Hobbyist Workshop, and obviously he does a little turning. Either that or that's an amazing green screen.
It's just a fabulous green screen. That's all it is.
Okay, all right.
Okay, well, it's impressive whoever set that up for you.
Welcome to the club.
All right, so let's see, Chris. The Hobbyist Workshop, you work at Klingspor's Woodworking Shop.
Mm-hmm.
So you unfortunately have to join us.
We won't hold that against you.
Yeah. As far as, we have to be there with you. But what exactly do you do there? And then also, how did your name come about? Because if I'm not mistaken, about 3 years ago, you were on a podcast called Making Time with Mr. Charles Gant and Daryl Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was your first one. So tell us a little bit about you, what you do, blah, blah, blah.
Well, my name's Chris. I work at Klingspor with you guys. I'm in the purchasing department /technical. That's my job title. I originally started out in the store as part-time while I was in college and realized I didn't like college, so I went went full-time. And then I worked for a cabinet shop for a little while and then came back to Klingspor and realized it's a bunch of good guys, and Coleman, the general manager, offered me the opportunity to become a purchaser, so that's where I'm at now.
That's awesome. By the way, not sponsored.
And then my name comes from I have too many hobbies, and I'm not just a wood shop. I like being out in the woods, carving. My YouTube channel's Jeep stuff mostly, and I don't have a Jeep anymore, so I need to get some content rolling on there probably. But
you had the headliner, right? You did the headliner for the Jeep?
No, actually, that was just an Instagram thing. My Jeep was mostly like fixing repairs I've never seen people do repairs on, so like electrical repairs and headlight repairs and stuff like that.
Okay. We got a few people here. Want to say hello, Mr. Angus. Good evening.
Welcome.
I'm guessing you know Connor's daddy because he said hi, Chris, and the other Chris. Oh, and Mike.
And Mike.
Buddy. And then Mr. Kyle Ely from
LearnYourCNC.com.
Wow, you busted that old school out, didn't you?
Yeah. Figured why not now?
Why not? Yeah, the legalities are gone for that trademark. Don't worry about it. Go for it. All right. So yes, Hobbyist Workshop. You dabble in you did. You've kind of started to fine tune it. It seems like towards maybe a little bit more power carving with a lathe.
Yeah. Hand tools, turning, and spoon carving pretty much right now are my three keys. If I'm not on the lathe, I'm out in the woods carving, or if I'm not in the woods carving, I'm fixing a hand plane or something,
Gotcha.
And you do quite a bit of that too. You do a lot of hand tool stuff.
Yes, you do.
Especially restoration, which we definitely will talk about.
Okay.
To not make sense of who Connor's daddy is, just call him Mr. IT. It's IS. Get it right. Gosh. No, just kidding.
AKA Keith Jr. So anyway,
yeah.
so I like what you've done with your wall. That's a new add-on for your shop, isn't it?
Yeah, I've actually been working on that this week, and I finished it earlier today. So I figured, why not show it off? Be proud of my cleanliness for a little while. That's clean.
It's amazing what you can do when you get invited onto a podcast. You go, well, I guess I better clean now.
My shop's a mess. I just leave it as is.
You should see the other half.
That's right. That's how you do it. You make this half look good.
Yep.
Quick question as I'm looking at the lathe here. Is that a Laguna light set on a Powermatic?
Yes, it is.
Okay. It's a good light set. Don't get me wrong.
I got one Powermatic and one. I got stuff in the way. Hold on. One Laguna. And so
I think I like that other one better, that long one. So which one do you like better, the spotlight type or the long LED?
actually, I like the Spotlight a little bit better. Most people think they like the big long one better. It's more for spindle turning, but for bowls, I mean, being able to move this and get in a bowl, and this one also has, I don't have it plugged up actually, but this one has the adjustable color, so I can do the yellow or the blue. I can also change the brightness, so that's kind of nice.
So it's kind of just like a green screen. It looks functional, but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's like an industrial version of Pixar going on there. I keep waiting on that lamp to jump off the lathe and pounce on your head.
Actually, they're not plugged in because I got my lathe fixed this week. This fabulous Powermatic lathe was bought in March, and by April it had problems. So I got it fixed last Wednesday.
Okay.
I haven't had a chance to turn on it yet, so that's why nothing's plugged in.
That works. By the way, not sponsored by Powermatic parts team or service department. But
I'm also rougher on machines more than people are. So
no, we've met Scott Caskey, so until you can hold a candle to that, you're just a beginner.
Just wait till I get a big lathe, man.
How big is this one here?
This is the 2014, so it's like a mid-sized lathe.
So it doesn't
a little bit bigger.
Does it? So 20 inches long is the bed,
and then 14-inch swing. People call it a professional MIDI. It was stronger than a jet and cheaper than the 3520, so that's why I got it.
Does it have any of the same features like a 3520 does, or is there crossover parts with it?
The only crossover part would be it's an 1.25 inch by 8 spindle, which is nice. So I can use big one-way chucks up there and Nova chucks. And then the only other thing would be the light because they have that as an option now for the big one. So
it's a good light.
And both are yellowish gold.
Yes, and they're both yellow.
Mr. IT says it's a good-looking tool wall, Mr. Stinson.
Thank you.
I edited that.
My phone's kind of far away, so I can't see what people say. But
okay. Well, I'll read it out for you. That's fine.
Okay.
All right. So you decided to go with one way.
For chucks, yes. I want a one-way 2436 with a 3-horse motor, but it's a pretty penny, so saving the pennies. I looked at robust lathes, but that's $10,000. I can't justify it for a lathe, and a lot of people.
So it's a few more nickels there.
Well, like a few more quarters.
You just have to collect a few more cans and recycle those.
Yep.
No, I'm just curious on that because I haven't used too many chucks. I don't do a lot of turning. Love it, but I just don't have time for it. But I will have to say the one-way chuck seemed to be the most solid option out of the bunch.
My two preferred chucks is a Vicmark, which I don't have. I have used, and they're a phenomenal chuck, and the one-way. The one-way simply because I get them from Klingspor, and I can get one at work. So.
Okay.
Well, and they
The,
are a smoother scroll and a more
yeah,
consistent hold. So when you do tighten them up, they're less likely to let loose.
I just love the fact you can just pop it right off the wall.
yeah. And so this is my newest chuck. It's a big boy, and I can just take my finger and scroll that action with my finger. So it's pretty impressive
That
with
is impressive.
how well machined that is.
Canadian engineering.
You pay a little more, but you definitely get your money's worth out of the one-way products.
And actually, you don't pay that much more. The one way is kind of nice in that way. Either you can buy the chuck with jaws, and the jaws are serrated, but you can also buy the body by itself, and that's what I prefer to do because you can get the body and get whatever jaws you want, and then you save a little bit of money there. So
Mr. IT said that Mr. Stinson collects quarters, so a few more quarters shouldn't be an issue for him.
I actually do collect quarters. So
Now, are you
I
collecting the state quarters, or what kind of quarters do you collect?
I just realized who Mr. IT is now.
Keith Jr.
Yeah, Keith Jr. I collect national park quarters at the moment because I have all the state ones.
Okay.
And if you ever go to my desk, I got the big binder at my desk where I sneak into the store sometimes and sort through the quarters and see if I can find anything new.
That's
Off
why
the
the
clock.
money bag's always off.
Let's see here. Mr. Angus has a question for you. What would be a nice mid-size lathe? I need something that I can move around. Not a lot of room in the shop to dedicate to leave it out all the time. Well, I'll say this. You might as well dedicate some space to it, at least a wall space, because you're going to dedicate more than you think to the lathe.
Yes. And then the other big factor on that is what's your budget. And I always recommend a midi lathe. 12 inches is a good size for most people. Most people won't ever get into 14 or 16 or 20-inch bowls like I do. So a mid-sized lathe that's got a 12-inch swing. The Rikon is a fabulous option. I had one for 4 years, and then the Jet makes a good one. And then obviously my Powermatic is a little bit bigger than a midi lathe, so the Powermatic is as well.
Now, let me ask you this: as far as direct drive, variable speed DC drive, or the Reeves drive, which one is your preferred for someone who's starting out, who wants something longevity?
Longevity, probably a belt drive would be your better option. Number one, because if the motor goes out, say 10 years down the road and your warranty is way over with, you can find a motor and you can slap another belt on it and figure out the gearing and you're good to go. And also the belt driven stuff, it gets better. If you ever get into doing coring out like a bowls, like y'all saw Scott do with the show, because you can loosen up that belt. And if you catch the tool a little bit, the belt will slip rather than break the motor. So,
okay, that's helpful because what is it? The Nova Galaxy, I think it is, has the direct drive DVR.
Yeah, Nova, they have a few different options. It's kind of weird and confusing when you go down Nova's path with motor systems. I think they got 3, maybe 4 different motor styles. They have the belt with a DVR motor and then some other weird stuff. Dreadnought would be the guy to talk to about that one. So,
Mr. IT says stop that on the quarter. Checking.
no.
Also, Angus says he had a mini Nova and he sold it to Gary. Well, poor Gary.
You saw him coming, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. He was like, wait, there's a sucker born every minute. Can't wait for Gary to get in here and be like, wait a minute.
Time for an upgrade.
Yeah, I have to say that out of the minis that are available or mid-size, that Rikon, Jet, Laguna, all much better options.
Yeah.
Yep. I had a Rikon for 4 years. It was a little bit cheaper than the Jet at the time, is why I kind of went with it. And I liked it. I only had one problem out of it, and that was the speed sensor went out. And it's kind of a long and funny story on that one. I contacted Rikon. They sent me a new control box and a new speed sensor, and their new control box they sent me was plug and play, and mine was hardwired. So they sent me a whole new motor, and so I pretty much had a new lathe by the end of it. So.
Well, okay, so I'm going to ask this, and it's going to sound bad to those who are listening, but would you say Rikon's service for their warranty is better than others on the market? There we go. I'll put it that way.
Yes. And I'm pretty honest in my opinion. Rikon, I contacted like the week before New Year's, so it took about 2 weeks for them to get a hold of me, and it was actually the I think he's the CEO. Chris, you may know his name right off the top of your head. I don't.
Is it the main guy that comes to our shows?
No, well, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I've never been to one of our shows simply because I've been in the store.
Yeah, well, that'll change.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited about.
Don't get excited.
Chris Miller says it's Jack. Is that it?
Joe.
Because we're thinking Joe.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking Joe. Maybe. Anyways.
Yeah.
He contacted me in 2 weeks, and
thank you, Chris Miller. I appreciate the compliment.
The moment I told him.
Hold on one second, Chris. So Chris Miller says Chris is a class act young man that does nice woodworking, and Smith took all the credit on that.
Yeah. He couldn't read the comment, so I figured I would jump in and acknowledge that he was talking about me. So
there's too many Chris's talking at the moment, I guess.
Too many Chris's.
Yeah.
No, whenever you get a chance, let me know. And we have a question, and a legitimate question, apparently. So I wanted you to finish. Okay. Well,
okay.
As far as warranty goes, because the only reason I ask is that you had to recently deal with Powermatic, and it seems like it wasn't that overnighting the part to you, getting back to you within a timely manner that you had experienced, because you ranted and raved about Rikon being on top of it, sending you the parts right out. That wasn't the right one. Well, it's like, okay, well, let's send you this, and they made it right no matter what it took.
Yes. And it took a matter of a month of having pretty much new lathe. The only thing I didn't have new was the chassis and the bearings. And then Powermatic, I had problems in April. I didn't hear back till late in May. And I didn't even hear back from Powermatic. I heard back from the repair parts guy. And he came the week after, came up, pretty much said, yeah, you're going to need a new control box. I said, why did you come up if you already read my report? I know I need a new control box. And so and then he left and ordered it, and last week is when I got it. So it took quite a few months. But the whole COVID thing has everything messed up compared to when I had problems with my Rikon. So it could be a number of things. But it still shouldn't take a month to hear back from the dealer, especially on a 1-month-old lathe.
Agreed. Oh, Joe is okay. So Chris Miller, because he knows everybody in the industry, and that we're not making fun. He really does. He says that Joe is the VP and Jack is the Prez. So there you go.
For Rikon?
Rikon, yeah.
Okay.
Joe's always the one that I deal with. He's great.
Okay. I think it was Joe that I dealt with.
Let's see here. So Mr. IT says, I have an actual question this time. I know it's purely subjective, but what type of turning tools would you say the average starting out turner be good to go with, and why, i.e. high-speed steel versus carbide insert?
Okay. So here's my rabbit hole on this one. They both have their time and their place. I prefer traditional more than anything, but I behind my head I do have, it's kind of hard to see, behind my head I do have 3 Easy Woods. They're good when you need them, pretty much. There are certain things where you just been having a bad day and you can't reach that one spot with a traditional tool, and the carbide will get it easy and you don't have to worry about it too much. Now, if you ask other people this opinion, it's a whole spiel. One of our guys that we work with, Ralph, he swears by carbide. He thinks there's nothing better. But honestly, traditional tools are 10 times faster. And some people say I'd rather be behind the lathe than be behind a grinder, but if you have your tool sharpened at the right angle and have a good setup jig, it doesn't take but 10 seconds at the grinder. So that's my little spiel on that one. So
Yeah, and what I found too is if it's a small shop and they don't really want to invest right away in a sharpening system,
yeah,
because it's more than just having a grinder. It's quite a bit more. That
yeah,
the carbide tools are a good way to start if you're trying to get into it. But it's easy to transition from them to a traditional tool once you kind of see what kind of wood turning you like. It's
yes,
kind of seems to be the consensus on that.
very much so. Rikon, going off Rikon again, they make a fabulous carbide set. I don't have one simply because I bought Easy Wood before Rikon had theirs out. So I've used them before. I've used Ralph's, and then I've used a few other people's. It's a great system and it's affordable. You get 3 tools and a handle, and I think it's like $300. So
Yeah, I think it's up to like 250 now.
yeah.
But no, that's the set I got beginning because it had the 45 bevels on the. It had 2 bevels on it, so you had the flat bottom, and then you had 2 bevels on the side. And the reason for that was that I could turn that round cutter at a shear angle and get the same type of cut, not the same cleanness, but the same type of cut I could from a bowl gouge.
Yeah,
and I couldn't
definitely
do that with Easy Wood tools. There was no way to do that.
No,
it's just you one or the other.
Yeah, Easy Wood's just a square stock, so you have your standard cut, and that's all you get. So, and the other thing I like about the Rikon is there are other systems out there that have the 45s on there, but they have some, like, I'm gonna call Sorby out a little bit. They have a big nut on the end of the tool, right next to the cutter, and it gets in the way, in my opinion. And with the Rikon, it's flat to the very tip of the tool, and it's flat to the very tip of the tool on the 45s as well. So it's a really good system.
No, I have to agree with that. There's a lot of cutter options with the Sorby, but at the same time, that little indexing head is a little bulky when you're trying to get into certain things. Or if you forget it's there and you're backing off into the tool rest, that's always a fun thing to realize.
Yes.
So Angus says that he does like his Rikon bandsaw. You might have to look into the lathe, and in my opinion, the 70-220 VSR is the one that's a great starting point. But you can do everything you want to.
And they have a new one now. Their new, I think it's a 70-150 VSR. It's pretty much like my Powermatic here. It's got the removable control box. They can move around, move it out of the way, and then it's also got the ability to turn outboard, which is really nice. You can turn off the backside of the headstock and buy an extra bed extension and put it on the other side, kind of like the Laguna. So that's kind of nice, especially the control box factor. I like being able to move this and get it out of the way, because with my Rikon, all the time I'm bumping into it, and the 70-220, it's a phenomenal machine, but the one thing I did complain about a lot is the control box being permanently mounted in that one spot got annoying, because I was always turning it off being a right-handed turner. So
I can see that.
Yep.
Mr. Gary Jones says, "Good evening, boys. Gary, don't rewind 15 minutes. We did not make fun of your purchase of a lathe, but thank you for joining us."
Yes.
He's going to be like, wait a minute. Let me check this out. Mr. IT says, Ralph added lead shot to his Rikon turning set handles just to cut down on vibration. This would have made them overly heavy for you not knowing, but it helps with his arthritis the more you know.
Yes.
The other thing it helps with too is that carbide, because it's on a very thin plane of metal, it can start to chatter. We found that out with Daryl. He was not able to have the carbide set in properly. It looked like it was indexed, and it started making a funny noise, and he noticed it was chattering on his tool that he was using for his demonstration. So he was quickly fixed it, not a big deal. But the more weight you can have behind it, the less chatter you're going to have. But it's still not going to be a traditional tool. There is something about that
No,
traditional tool feel.
I mean, with the traditional tool, I'm not in it for speed, but speed is nice, and it's nice to have and nice to know your speed. With a carbide tool, say simply doing a small 6-inch bowl for a new turner, that'll take hours. With a traditional tool, probably, well, for a new turner, it still take hours. But
So you can either take hours or you can take hours. It's your
Just
choice.
depends on which hours you
Well,
want to take.
but once you get more experience, especially with the traditional tool, you can turn an entire bowl in an hour. A 6-inch bowl you can get done in an hour, and carbide, maybe you can get down to 2, maybe 3, but still, that's 2 or 3 hours.
Well, okay, so let me ask this. When you saw on the Woodworking Extravaganza videos that we did for Clean Sports Woodworking Shop, and 100% not sponsored, but I mean, it could be somewhat sponsored. The question that I have is, did you notice that when Daryl was turning with the, oh my gosh, my mind went completely blank, the Turn Master carbide system, it was a lot slower for him to turn the bowl to shape. When Kasky used the bowl gouge, he was ripping the shavings
Yep.
out, and they were still clean.
Yes,
Okay.
and that's another thing about the tool, traditional tools over carbide. Carbide, you're going to do a lot of sanding. You're shear scraping. With a traditional tool, you can get that edge just right, and you can cut like butter all the way from the bottom of the bowl to the very top, and then you don't have to sand, but with like 2 grits. With carbide, you got to start at 60 and go all the way through them. I mean, and especially if you have bad tear out, like on some really aged cherry, you're going to definitely have tear out.
So we got a couple of comments here. Let me read them off to you. Mr. Gary Jones said, wait, we're talking turning tonight? Just tuned in for a minute. It kind of turned into turning due to the fact that we saw his wall of glory back there, and it was just like,
Yeah.
let's talk about
Yeah.
that for a minute.
Yeah.
Angus,
I got hand tools, so whenever y'all want to talk hand tools, we can go
got
for it.
another half hour, so
Can you use that on the lathe?
you can. Kasky
I've seen people do it. I've especially lately. I think it was on Instagram. There's a guy turning with a spoke shave. He was using it like a skew. It was kind of phenomenal, but I don't even want to try it.
Well, I mean, it only hurts when it comes back and hits you.
Yeah.
So Angus says, do you know if it's 110 or 220? It's a 110 on that Rikon, both of them. I don't think only they're big 3 horsepower, right?
Yeah, the Rikon, they have a few weird sizes. I don't know the speeds on them, but all the mini lathes, anything that's 12-inch will be 110. I don't think I've ever seen a 12 or 14-inch lathe that's 220. So
the other thing to look for too is if it's 1 or 1.5 horse, it's typically 110. As soon as it jumps to 2 and 3 horse, it's 220.
Yes. Jet has a 16-inch lathe that's 1.5 horse, and it's 110. And then the same lathe with a 2-horse motor, immediately 220.
So Chris Miller has a legitimate statement and question. He has both the high-speed steel and carbide, and not used to sharpening the high-speed steel, Sorby, and Rikon. I prefer my Easy Wood and Rikon carbide. I have a dual-wheel Rikon grinder, but really never sharpened my high-speed steel. Any teaching or training techniques on that?
Yes. It's a hard answer, but there is. Number one, get a Wolverine grinding system made by One Way, and that's pretty much the industry standard for sharpening on a bench grinder. Even the pros like Glenn Lucas and Stuart Batty and all of them, they're all using Wolverine systems. Yeah, they're a little modified, but the Wolverine system is tried and true. And then the other one thing I really recommend on the Wolverine is get let me grab it real quick. One of these. This is made by a gentleman named Ron Brown. It's a universal setting jig. It makes you're sharpening consistent. And that's the key with traditional tools is consistency. Because once you get consistent, you can get that muscle memory. And that saves a lot of time, a lot of frustration, and a lot of catchbacks. You can really change your turning with this pretty much.
It reminds me of the wheel alignment tool from Tormek.
Yes, it's exactly like that, just for the bench grinder.
Well, the Tormek's for the bench grinder. Yeah, okay.
It,
Same thing. Got an angle.
yeah,
You just line up the two spots on the wheel and then set your
yeah.
angle.
You set this in the V spot of your Wolverine, and then you touch your wheel top and bottom, and then whatever angle you're at. Like my tools. Another cool trick about this wall, you can just grab stuff. I have the setup written down on the handle there, and that way I know this tool goes to that setting. So that's kind of nice on that.
That is kind of nice. Smart way to do it. Oh, let's catch up real quick on the comments. We got a lot tonight. So Gary Jones just took a week class in turning, bowl gouge all the way for him. He loves the bottom feeder bowl gouge to finish out the bottom.
Okay. So
let's see.
Bottom feeder. That's a whole nother spiel. They're phenomenal for big bowls. I don't know if you're talking about using a bottom feeder for like the 40/40 grind or just using it in general, but
well, he did say Wolverine is the easiest. He also loves Cbn Wheels.
Yes, definitely. You don't need Cbn wheels right out of the gate, but once you get them, you'll never go back to traditional wheels.
I can agree with that.
They're so much more balanced and so much more cleaner. And then the other thing I really recommend is pretty much the industry standard right now for Cbn wheels is made by Wood Turning Wonders. And they have it's like a deodorant stick pretty much, and it's made for Cbn wheels, and it doesn't take much. You just slide it across the wheel when it's going, and that cuts down on heating up your tools and keeping your wheels easy, making your wheels easier to clean. So
kind of sounds like a steroid.
Yeah, kind of.
Gary says that he likes his Klingspor Cbn wheels, not sponsored. That's awesome. And Chris Miller says that, thank you, I'll need to come see you in the store. By the way, Chris Miller's off every day that ends in Y. He just answers emails on Mondays and Tuesdays.
Yeah. The Klingspor Cbn wheels, by the way, are Wood Turning Wonders. So you automatically have a good wheel there if you're getting it from Klingspor. So that's what I got.
And if you do like the carbide, obviously you can just replace them, or you can buy you a little card diamond file.
Yes. I got one right here, just in case. So whenever you need it, it's right next to the lathe.
Okay, now I know where to look whenever I need to sharpen that. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it.
No problem. I'm showing off the wall a little bit, just so you know.
No, you might as well. Seriously, you got to do something as far as post that somewhere, because it is just impressive.
And the magnet strips weren't my idea. I saw a really popular turner on Instagram do it, and I commented what he was using because it looked like he had it looked too clean. He made like little dividers that are little notches that are for each tool, and did the magnets. And I kind of stole the idea from him and ran with it. So
here's the first thing I think of when you said that he had dividers to organize it and everything else. And I don't even know. It doesn't matter who the turner is. He's got a lot of time on his hands.
Yeah, he's a full-time turner, so
yep.
He does it for a living.
But I like your calipers. I like the just the overall layout of it. Now, how do you choose your spur drives, your live centers? Because they're all pretty close together. What's a common one that you go for?
My most used one is actually this big one. This is made by Nova. It's called their Big Bite Jaw, and it actually threads onto the spindle. It's made for the 1 1/4 by 8, so you can see it's a monster. And I use it for bowls because mainly I'm doing bowls right now. But most of my spurs and drives are either Robert Sorby or the Powermatics. So I got Daryl Be Proud. I got the stab centers, and I like these because they're spring loaded and they have little bites. And and I like them much more than I do the four spurs. Because once these slip, they re-catch themselves. So they're expensive. Don't get me wrong, but they're fabulous.
That's a good upgrade if you're looking for a holiday present coming up.
Yeah.
That's something definitely put on the wish list because they are I don't know about a game changer for me, but at the same time, I always
They are a
wanted
game
one
changer.
after I saw them used. I wanted one for sure.
And especially with having a tailstock that has a spring and the live center having the spring. So when you're doing spindles, if you take it off, you can find it real easy. And if you need to find your center on something that's not really done yet, you can loosely tighten up your tailstock, and then you can use that spring action on both sides to kind of fine tune your center of your blank. So.
Let's see here.
Cool.
Kyle says Chris is going to have to restock that wall by the end of the episode.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, where did I put that again? Should have taken a photo.
John Michelle McNeil said, good evening, whatnotas. Good evening, guys. Mr. IT wants to know, how do you like working with the trend face mask hanging on top? Is it worth the $3?
It's a whole lot more than...
He put $3 signs. I'm just, because you can't read it.
Okay. I like it, but I hate it. I actually bought ours off the closeout rack. It had a broken band and a messed up battery and a few other things.
Oh, the one we use for training.
Yeah. Ray put it on the closeout rack for like dirt cheap, so I said I couldn't pass it up. And then I love it because when you're sanding, you automatically have a face shield. You don't have to have a respirator and a face shield. But I hate it because it's so heavy. I have a back disease, and it causes me to have some serious back pain after a few minutes of just having it on my head. So
I was going to ask you that because that was the first thing I noticed, is that the weight of the battery and the motor and everything, if you're looking down, which you typically are while you're turning, your neck starts to hurt.
Yes. There are a few other brands out there, but they're double the price of this one. They have, actually Scott Caskey has one, I believe. The battery pack mounts on a belt. So the weight is on the belt, and then you pretty much just have your face shield. And there's a hose, but that's the only downfall is the hose.
I just got to be careful where you walk.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Angus asks, so now that I think about it, maybe I don't violate. I can just break into Gary's shop and use his. That'll work. That'd be the way to do it. And he just bought a safety spur last week. Gary Jones did. And safety spurs are a great beginner tool as well, because if you catch, everything will still spin and operate, but that's, it'll just kind of stay there and remind you that, hey, too much of a cut or whatever it is that caused it to stop in the first place.
And trying to explain that over the phone to a guy who's never used one before is kind of hard. I've been there, done that. Don't want to go back. So
I like Chris's, the other Chris there, not you, sorry. But his thing of a number 2 pencil, like just imagine you're putting a number 2 pencil into the sharpener, and as you're turning it, eventually it stops sharpening. Same idea is that as you put too much pressure on the piece that you're working with, it'll just stop turning. That usually does pretty good.
Well, I explained that a lot, and he never got it. So,
welcome to the technical team.
Yeah, it's a jolly old time.
It's always fun. That's all I can say. You never have the same question twice at the same way.
Well, look at it like this. You start jotting down your questions and put together a video answer thing. And we'll start putting out some content.
Yeah, y'all got that room. We'll go ahead and start making some videos.
Hey, since we're here on our time, are you going to start joining us on Abrasive and Proud of It Live and doing video stuff with us?
I'd love to. When y'all ask me.
Well, I just did.
Well, let me know and I'll be there.
See, I haven't been caught up to speed on all the things going on.
Yeah, I got an office now, so that happened.
Congratulations.
And I like I share an office. I don't have my own office, but I like my office mate. I've never had a desk job before, and it's not as bad as I thought it would be. I've always had manual labor jobs, so.
All I can tell you is you need to walk down the hall if you need to pass gas, because if you ever pass gas anywhere near the vicinity of that coworker you share the office with, oh yeah, just hell have no fury.
She did it to me today, and I called her out for it, so it's okay.
Good. Yeah, that'd be funny when you go to tell her tomorrow. Oh, by the way, we met you on the podcast and you tooting. That's right, we did.
And then she when I first got into the office, she goes, "No smelly hand lotions." And the first thing I walk in this morning is she got some kind of hand lotion on and it smells. And I'm like, "Really, Melanie?"
Don't call her out. Damn, that's it. Done.
I don't care. She knows who exactly I'm talking about.
Well, I like how you're somewhat honest, as you said earlier. Your statements are pretty honest. That's what it was, pretty honest.
Yeah.
All right.
So speaking of turning, how do you like those big Nova jaws behind you there?
I don't have any Nova. Well, actually, I take
I mean,
it
the
back.
cold jaw. I'm sorry, the cold
the
jaws.
Cold jaws.
Okay. Actually, I like cold jaws. I don't use the Nova cold jaws. These are the one ways. And what would make the Nova so much better if Nova got rid of the rubber bumpers that come on the end of them. If you get the Nova cold jaws, throw those things away, buy the one ways, and attach them to it.
He's not kidding. Yep. That's the same thing I would do in the store. I would tell somebody if they were looking at that one, I would just be like, well, here, buy this pack of extra buttons because you're going to hate those.
Yes. The one way are pretty much as squishy as a bouncy ball. And the Novas are as squishy as a bouncy ball. The one way, they're hard rubber, kind of like a tire, and they're also metal line, so they have a metal inner, and so they don't give as much as the Nova. I don't think I ever had a piece come off my one way, and my Nova, every time I had a piece on those cold jaws, they was flying at me. So
if they ever got dirty from sanding dust, they'd lost their grip.
Yes.
And Mr. IT has a good point. He'll gladly volunteer some time to the Abrasive and Proud of It Stuff Whatnot podcast as well if ever needed. That would be fun. I just had a great idea, so I'll share it with you guys later. Oh no, it's on a podcast. Who cares? Why don't we do like a the people of Clean Sports Woodworking Shop? Because actually, for the most part, anyone who works there is a woodworker of some sort, has some sort of background in woodworking. So you're going to get somebody in some department somewhere that knows what they're talking about.
And one thing I really like about that idea is there's a YouTube channel called Blade HQ, and they do walkarounds each month of what their store people are carrying of like their knife. And I always like those videos because they just walk through the building and find a random person out of the blue and say, "Hey, what do you do?" or "What are you carrying?" And I think that's funny, just catching them off guard and asking them what they do.
Ingenious. But that's what Mr. IT says. Ingenious. What the ingenious face is. Well, I mean, why not? I know that people aren't going to be on there as far as just willy-nilly, and you couldn't walk up behind them and just say, "Hey, what are you doing?" because that wouldn't go so well. But finding those who are the technical staff and the purchasing people and stuff like that that do a lot of woodworking, that would be a lot of fun.
And even a few of the warehouse people who do like turning and stuff. So,
I don't know what his title is necessarily, but Randy, he reminds me a lot of you because he's into car stuff, fixing up his Civic.
Yeah.
He's into building with a lot of woodworking and stuff like that. So he would be interesting as well.
Yeah.
The Whatnot podcast presents Clean Sports Woodworking Shop Employee of the Week.
Well, and the cool thing is you're into so much. I mean, I bought an apron a while back, and the only thing I didn't like about it was it didn't have pockets. And you actually sewed leather pockets onto leather flaps over my canvas apron, and that just transformed it. So, I mean, you got quite a little niche of craftiness to you.
Yeah, and I've kind of been blessed with having a lot of family members who do a lot of different things. As Chris is talking about leatherworking, one, I did Native American crafts, and not just like the little chintzy ones you give your kids to do, but more like full on beating the entire moccasin and making the moccasin itself and doing all the beadwork and the design and the layout and doing the entire outfit. And yeah, I've kind of went down that whole rabbit hole of
I wish you gave me
historical
a
stuff.
picture of that one because that is extremely impressive. That you
Um,
were dead on as far as the garment entirely and how it was
mhm,
done. It wasn't any way mocking. It wasn't any way in not showing ingratitude for those crafters who came up with it.
yeah, and one thing I'll say, it's not a costume. Even if I'm wearing it, it's not a costume. It's a regalia. That's kind of the formal term for that outfit. We I got in through it through scouts, and that's kind of my whole background of woodworking. I got in through scouts, um, but that whole side of it, of the Native American stuff, I got in through scouts, and we went to the national competition twice when I was of age, and the second time we went, we placed first in the nation for our historical dance team. So
And are you an Eagle Scout or just a Boy Scout?
I am an Eagle Scout. Yes, I'm an Eagle Scout. I'm also part of the Order of the Arrow, or was part of the Order of the Arrow. I haven't renewed anything, so I'm not part of it anymore.
Slacker.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's something that anytime I've met an Eagle Scout, they don't boast about it. You almost have to drag it out of them. Like it's something that they've earned that they just don't go around flashing to everybody. But
There are those few who boast, but nobody really cares. There's some of those random guys out there who got the Eagle Scout tattooed on their arm, and I'm a survival expert and everything, and you just kind of look at them when they start all that and think they're crazy. So
Yeah, you had your tattoo put on the lower back so that way nobody would know,
yeah,
right?
I was thinking, where am I going to say it? That's great. Oh, well, okay. So now that we've burned a good 45 minutes on turning and back tattoos with Eagle Scouts, let's do hand tools because I
okay,
know for a fact that you've purchased a hand tool for me.
you mean this one?
That's the one.
Yep, and restored it. So
It's a good looking plane.
yeah,
Was that the
you
World War
already,
II one? Or is
yeah,
that one
yeah,
still at my desk? Okay, that's World War II one. Okay.
yeah. I don't know if you did it or somebody else refinished the handle. So the only thing I really did was flatten everything up and clean up some of the patina and the rust. But I got a new blade for that one, because the blade you had originally was way too far gone with pitting and rust. So I got a new
That
blade.
and that and whoever sharpened it didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, it was really weird. It was like most planer blades are 45 degree. It was like a 60 or something weird.
You know what it was? I didn't have that cool little gauge. That's what it was. It was like, yeah, this looks good enough.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm like, man, this thing sucks. It doesn't do what I want it to do. Yeah, okay. You learn later, by the way, when you work at a woodworking shop and you make
yeah.
that question or ask the question on the angle, then you realize, oh, I'm that guy. Yeah, it happens.
And that's another thing. If you ever go into hand tools, don't cheap out on sharpening. I mean, get a jig, get a good sharpener, and you're set for life on hand tools.
So like a Tormek?
I have a Tormek. I didn't until recently, but just a diamond stone, and even the small, a little bit bigger than a credit card, are just fine. You can't do big passes with it, but you can still get the job done at a decent rate.
So okay. Oh, I have to. Well, we'll turn it back to turning just because I'm curious. Okay, so you like the Wolverine as a go-to method on the bench grinder for sharpening high-speed steel, right?
For starters.
Okay, where are you at now?
I've recently started. I've bought the Glenn Lucas wood turning DVD series from him, and he uses a Tormek, and so I've been trying the Tormek out for a while with the diamond wheel, and trying some of his angles on my tools, and that's where I'm at the moment. So
Okay.
right now in turning world, I'm in the process of I'm on the hunt for finding the perfect steel. right now I have all M42. I got some M4 steel that's cryogenically treated on the way. I also got some M2 steel that's cryogenically treated on the way. And then I'll probably get it. Well, actually, I do have a powder metal one. That's the David Ellsworth one though.
Okay.
That Klingspor sells.
So I have a question for you to try out. Do you still have a Wolverine jig?
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. I'll get the part numbers together for you, but I found that bench mounting, I can't think of what it was. The bench mount bar for the Tormek. So you
Yes.
can put it with a
Yeah. I've
bench
seen that.
grinder.
Uh-huh.
And then using the Tormek jig for doing turning tools like, the Ellsworth grind, the bowl gouges and all that, I think is way better. And it actually is cheaper than a Wolverine.
Yes. Yes and no. The fingernails, the jig for holding the tool is actually like $100 by itself from Tormek. The Wolverine bowl spindle gouge jig, I think it's only like $60. Yeah, the very grind. Sorry.
So you got $90 in Wolverine, and then you've got 60
on top of that to get the very grind. And if you go the Tormek route to add to that, then you're at probably 160 just to get into that one.
So roughly around the same. See, that would be the test I would like to do.
Yeah.
Is if you're starting out, you can there's two options that do the same thing.
Yeah. And I actually like the gauges and the jigs for Tormek a little bit better, simply because they have the jigs for the wheels, and when you get the jig for the wheel, it comes with a little chart that tells you what setting to put on what, and then you define the angle. Wolverine, they have that, but it's not as precise as the Tormek.
Yeah, when I had mine, I took a scratch awl and actually scratched the leg on it so I would know where my angle was.
And on mine, I have that little engraver tool, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and that's why on my tools I have 2, and then I have whatever number I have here, and then so on and so forth. So.
All right, so let me start to derail us there.
Okay.
Bring the train back to the station. So, Mr. IT said, speaking of restoring hand planes, Mr. Stinson has had one since pre-lockdown. Stop slacking and start restoring, sir.
You mean this one?
I have a thought. Why don't we just finish this out talking about hand planes, and we'll have him on again to talk about, turning, and have him on again to talk about tool restoration. Because he does a lot of stuff with not only tools, but quite a few other things too.
And
that way we can dedicate some
even one in hand
time.
tools. So, yeah.
Because I think that would be a very intriguing and good conversation to have.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's do that, because what is the one you just picked up? Don't tell us what it is yet, but show it.
Show it?
Yeah, the wooden one.
Oh.
That is one that you made yourself?
No.
Oh. Where's the one you made yourself?
That's right
kind of a nicer piece of wood.
Yeah.
Purple art,
right here.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
And this one is kind of my baby. It's got relief cut, so it feels good in the hands. It's out of rosewood, so it's nice and heavy, and it takes off shavings you can see through. I've made a few planes. I've only made 2 that I really like to show off, like this curly walnut block plane. So.
Wow, that's a pretty piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do a second episode of just hands tools. While we're here, though, Angus says he did a mild restore on his great-grandfather's number 6, dated back to 1880s. Love using it. There's something about 2 things there. 1, using your family's heirloom tools.
Yes.
And 2, restoring it to where you get to use it for yourself. That is a lot of fun.
And that's kind of where my hand tool road started, was using my great grandfather's, who was a master carpenter and everything. So
very cool. Yeah, we'll definitely have to do another episode on just that.
Yeah.
Mr. IT says, a nice bedrock. If I remember correctly, I want to see it on display once you go professional with content creation, Chris. You would be like Stumpy Nubs, just a lot less planes.
I'll probably be there one day. I started out buying planes, and I think I've only bought two, and I have probably 40 now, and so they just keep acquiring to myself.
Kind of like the turning wall behind you.
Yeah, yeah.
So whenever we do our conversation on hand planes, are you going to shift to a different wall where nothing but hand planes are behind you?
Yeah, I'll be exactly like Stumpy Nubs, just Tormac on the side, hand planes up top, and everything.
You know, we try to get him on the podcast. He says he doesn't do podcasts. And the one thing I wanted to tell him was, he who dies with the most planes still dies. That's what I've always wanted to say, that Stumpy.
You can't take it with you, man.
That's right. But you can definitely collect it, and it's a great backdrop. There's a lot of people.
That's why you end up like Angus with a hand-me-down from the 1800s.
Yeah, and I got some that old too. And I'll be honest with you, the older the better. They're better made and more well cared for than some of the 40s or 50s or even 60s. So.
What I really liked, especially that World War II one that you got there, it's really funny to see how they had to change due to material shortages.
Yes.
A lot of times in history, people don't mention that there's material shortages like we're going through right now, but there has been several times over.
Yep.
And so what's really interesting is to see how they had to change production, and then they kind of kept going with it because it was a more inexpensive way, or they didn't know when it was going to change back to what they were used to. So, just Stanley alone has a huge history with that. It's cool to watch.
And especially in like these two planes here. This is a number 4, and it's a I think it's a 41, 40-ish, and it's heavier than my number 5, which is like a late wartime. So just the difference in material and the thickness of the steel and everything is kind of crazy.
There's a whole history lesson to be learned there.
Yep.
And we'll learn about that when we have Chris back to talk about planes.
Yeah, we killed that hour really quickly.
It doesn't take long. It really doesn't. When you get the content, it goes.
Well, but see, what's cool is this is a great teaser, because now people who've turned in to watch this will have seen, okay, this guy's got some really cool planes. I want to hear more about this. So when we have you back on, it'll be great.
I even went down the rabbit hole of studying Japanese woodworking for a while, like Japanese marking gauges and stuff. I think the Japanese culture is phenomenal with woodworking and even that kind of stuff, and the European and all of them. I'd love to go down those rabbit holes one day, but.
Now, didn't you make a chopstick maker or something?
I made a Kumiko jig, so that's a. Actually, have a book on it. I have a book on it right here.
Bless you.
Kumiko is the art of taking very thin, like basswood, like soft carving wood, and making these beautiful patterns and stuff like that. And I made some jigs, but I don't have a good enough table saw to cut the strips out. So.
Let's see here. No, that's awesome. Real quick, Mr. RT says, I hope I didn't aggravate anyone hijacking the chat tonight. It was just a great podcast I couldn't help being involved with. Sorry, not sorry. Well, it sounded more like you were just inviting yourself in there, buddy. But no.
Josh will have you on one day if you want, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will definitely tune in for that podcast. Love a good hand plane. Who doesn't? I have to admit. Great episode. I'm not a turner, but I always love to see a fellow maker passionate about his craft. Nice work, Chris. Mr. Kyle Eli.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
I haven't taken credit again.
No, we're definitely going to have Mr. IT on, because that would be, well, that would be fun. All of it would be fun.
So, some people collect hand planes. Some people collect shoes. Mr. IT collects machinery and tools in his basement that don't get used.
He collects brand new machines. But I will say something about Josh. He has a Pega scroll saw, and he knows how to use it. He's a good scroll saw guy. So.
You know what I want to have too is that band scroll saw.
Oh yeah, that's on my list of tools to get.
Yeah, I don't even have a reason for it. I just love how versatile that thing is.
Oh, I got reasons.
Well, have you ever, speaking of Japanese woodworking, have you ever seen the art of the original black lacquer and how they apply it?
You mean like ebonizing wood and stuff like that?
Yeah, but it looks like a putty knife.
No,
Like
I
they
haven't.
put several. It's how they get the tops of certain things shiny black. Like it looks like
Okay.
it's polished out, but
Mhm.
they're actually used. I don't know the name of it, but I've actually got one. It's it's an angled putty knife that has contoured edges. So
Okay.
when you come down at an angle, it's just smooth as glass. But Andy Berkey posted a video one time of just all these guys in Japan working like months on this particular project. And I sat and I rewatched that black lacquer probably 6 or 7 times. It was just phenomenal how he did it all by hand, but yet it looked like polished black.
Any of that Japanese, especially joinery. I mean, I can just watch 1,000 times and still just mind boggled by how complicated it is. And they just drew a couple lines and cut it all out. And it's like 7 pieces interlocked. And I'm just like,
You're like, I got turning tools.
yeah.
I'm doing good if I get a miter to fit correctly.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding. Isn't that the truth? Mr. IT says I collect all the tools.
He really does. He just got the 100th anniversary Powermatic, and I want to go play on it. So the 100th anniversary Powermatic lathe.
Don't let him do it. He's going to break it. Don't let him do it. He's hard on tools. He said it himself.
Yeah. I'll let you get a new control box in a couple months.
I believe it's called Japanning. What? Japan? I want to say 2 N's in that for some reason. Japanning. I'm just going to say Japanning. I don't know. I never visited. Always one of those places that you just want to go to see, and at the same time, you're like, that's a long plane ride. I'll check it out on YouTube.
My grandfather was stationed in Japan for years, and when I think he hurt his shoulder, and they sent him back to America, he was devastated because he wanted to live in Japan for the rest of his life. So.
That stings. Wait, ain't on a bad note, Chris.
I mean, the only thing I wish he did when he was over there was get me some Japanese plane.
It's always got to be about you, doesn't it?
Yes and no.
Well, if he was stationed over there, the planes would probably have been American.
Well, he was flying them.
Not illegally, of course.
No.
Medium mail all the way. Real quick, behind your head there, I keep seeing this flash of some sort of box. What is that?
This right here.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually something Mr. Chris Crafts made.
Oh.
It's his fabulous sandpaper organized, not patented or sold anywhere else than trade.
Is there like CNC files for that?
See, I think you got the one that had the box joints, didn't you?
Yeah, this is the very first one, I think.
Yeah, because you turned the. I had messed up on the dowels that actually hold the.
Yeah.
Not the dowels, but I messed up on the holes that I drilled for those, and you turned the dowels down and said what I owe you. Yep. I was like, well, what do I owe you? He said, I'll take that box. And it worked out. We just traded. It worked out pretty good.
You're like, I'm making another one anyways. I said, I'll take one if you're trying to get rid of it.
So that was a good even trade. I figured he would be a good test subject to give real world because I knew he does a lot of turning, and so it worked out.
And I actually have the Kling Spur cling net on it. And I didn't think I would like it as much for turning as I actually do, because it is so stiff. But being that mesh, you can actually rip it in thin strips and get in your tight spots.
Where were you at today for that crisp question that Chris had to deal with?
Oh man, today was one heck of a day at work, man.
Yeah, because it's funny. There was a guy who wanted to try the cling net, and Chris was trying to tell him it's not as flexible as a shop rolls. He's like, "Yeah, don't matter. I want to try it."
I can tell you where he was. Not on the chat line.
The entire Randy left early, so I had pretty much had to work in the store this afternoon because Gary and Ralph needed so much help, and I'm just like, man.
Oh, they got you fooled then.
Yeah.
So if there's no one else there that would do it.
And the other thing I can say about it is these Velcro pads that y'all sold with Izzy's kit. I bought one, and using it on the lathe in combination with that cling net is phenomenal, especially for like those spindles for Chris. I just stuck them on there and zipped it right up.
So do you have the double bone shape for the 2-inch and 3-inch discs? Yeah, there it is. That's
I
it.
thought I
Yep.
saw it up there.
That's my favorite for turning and sanding.
Yeah, they're both very nice. The only thing I don't like about this is I wish we had a double 2-inch, because you can see that taper into 3 gets a little wide for some things, so I burn it
So
up quite a bit.
would a long strip of 2-inch, like on a roll, not work, like a hook and loop roll?
You do know that that'll cut with a box cutter, right?
Then how are you going to hold the other end?
With
Well,
the-
I see what you're saying. You cut it. Okay.
yeah.
I just
You're
complain,
still
man. I don't.
you're still going to hold it with your hand just like you do now. It'll just be skinnier.
Yeah. I just complain. I don't try to find the solution to the complaining.
Listen, I'm a redneck, and if I've got a problem, I will redneck fix it. And surprisingly, a lot of my redneck fixes turned out to be amazing ideas that I would have never thought of had I not had to.
I saw your redneck micro jig clamp today on Instagram. That thing
Hey,
is cool.
man, I'll tell you what, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, I really need something to hold this down because the part was too small, and it was jittering around on the sanding mat. And I thought, you know what? I've already got all this stuff, so I threw my jig box down, and I even already had that little MDF 45 in there. I said, shoot, that's perfect. So you just got to get creative.
I like that table more than anything. To be able to clamp it anywhere and everywhere you want is pretty awesome.
Yes, it is.
I'll probably have to trade you for something soon. So.
Yeah, I did that whole table with a hand router. So there's no reason if you got a hand router that you can't do it.
Would you do it now with a hand router?
I had to do it with a hand router. I had no choice.
No, I mean, saying now that you have a CNC, would you still do it with a hand router?
That's the reason why I had to do it with a hand router. That table's bigger than my CNC.
Details.
Yeah.
Let's just say I don't have a hand router, Chris.
It's 25 by 79. 25 by 80. So it was if I was just cutting dados, yes, I could have done it in segments, but that dovetail bit doesn't do segments because it wants to pull up when it's done cutting. So I didn't want to go all the way down the back.
Being a problem.
So anyway, it was good for content because I do so much stuff on the CNC anyway. I wanted people to see that it could be done with just all you got to have is a hand router. And I actually made a micro jig block that actually acted as a clamping jig. So, using their own system to clamp the straight edge for my router to follow.
Someone at Klingspor, get this guy a hand router. No kidding. That's what I was thinking too, Nick. Thanks for joining us. Connor's daddy. Yes, Josh, I hadn't skipped over it. I was going to get to it here in a minute. He's got some comments. I'll get to it now. What is Japanese black lacquer? Well, Japan black, also called black Japan, is a lacquer or varnish suitable for many substrates, but known especially for its use on iron and steel. It is so named due to the history of black lacquer being associated in the West with products from Japan. It can also be called Japan lacquer or Brunswick black. Thank you, Google.
This is what we're going to have Josh on the podcast for. He's going to be our... kind of like Joe Rogan has Jamie for his podcast. He's going to be our Jamie.
Perfect. He'll be our Josh.
Yeah. That's why he's the IT guy.
He's on it already. Yeah.
Yep.
No, I was thinking that. So the 2 questions I have for you is our standard question. But first, you don't have a hand router, so that's definitely something you will need to have.
I actually do. It's a Bosch Colt. It's a little bitty thing. I don't think it'll be suitable for that.
That's
it. Will. Yeah. The only thing with the Bosch Colt, you'll have to make sure that you do the 1/4-inch cleanup bit first.
But I thought the micro jig bit is a 1/2-inch shank.
It is, but they offer a 1/4-inch. Mm-hmm. And now that you're in purchasing, you can request that because I've personally requested that.
Or you know what I could do? I could just purchase it for that day.
Well, and that's why you're saying the cleanup bits. That way you get rid of most of the material before you've got to use the actual dovetail side for the quarter. So if you do it all dovetail bit, it's going to break it. But
yeah,
Absolutely.
doing a
Okay,
couple
so
passes. What you're saying?
how many drills do you have? How many battery powered drills do you have?
Me?
Mhm.
4.
Perfect. And then chamfer or roundover?
Chamfer, actually, because I'm a hand plane guy.
That does make sense. Got to give them that.
I wished I would have taken photographs before I came in from the shop tonight, because those picture frame samples that I made, one side I put a 45, the other side I put a 3/8 radius. And so it's on the same piece of wood, just on different legs. So I was going to take a photograph of that and say, hey, I still can't decide, and have that as an example.
Yeah.
But
Where's that at?
I'll wait till it's primed and painted to do that, so that it makes that chamfer pop, because otherwise it just kind of disappears.
That's agreed. Well, there you go. Woohoo, Team Chamfer. You're right. All day long.
Nobody asked you.
You even put the hashtag up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, actually, Nick was when Nick was on with us from Stated Woods. He remembers the. Actually, I think he was involved in the original Team Chamfer, Team Roundover thing. Heradia. He was also one of the guys in the middle of that. So how that all started.
How's Michael doing? Have you heard from him?
I haven't, Chris.
No.
He disappeared. That's it. No more
He just
content
dropped off the
creation.
face of the planet.
He got his free Bessie clamps. He's out of here.
Yep. And his free slat wall.
Yeah, his free wall control. Not sponsored.
Yeah, wall control. Yeah.
But everyone at WorkbenchCon thanked you for their free wall control. Well, so why don't you have wall control? What do you I know we're going late here. I do have a question. I see pegboard to plywood.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, this is a piece of plywood that I got from the warehouse. It was dividing up other pieces of plywood that was in shipping, so
Not useful at all, huh? Some you just
Nope.
took it. Gotcha.
yeah, it was about a 1/4 inch thick, so I took it. And then the what I used in between the the plywood and the concrete wall is actually other pieces of plywood that was used for dividing up lumber.
In keeping with the theme of reconditioning, repurposing, and turning, Chris is reconditioning and repurposing and turning old crap into usable product that turns into his tool wall.
Hey! It looks good, doesn't it?
It does.
It does.
See,
And
It would look better if you painted it white, so that all those black handles and shiny steel just sort of, popped and glistened off the white backdrop.
I did think about milk painting it, but by the time I was done hanging it up, I got too
late.
I got too excited to put everything on there. So
Yeah. No, I get that. It would have been nice if you put like a chroma green color, so therefore you could have a green screen behind the tools.
actually, I thought about doing the General Finishes basil milk paint. I like that basil color.
The basil's a good one, yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. IT says, wait, Chris, I gave you an older DeWalt router with a router table.
Ooh.
I totally forgot about that.
Way to be appreciative.
He pulled a Josh and just left it in the corner and forgot he had it.
I so did. So did.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Angus says, what about a Roman OG? And that's always Chris's argument, is that you can do a lot with a roundover, like a Roman OG.
A Roman OG is a variant of a roundover. An inside roundover, an outside roundover. Love it. Anyway, well, this is fun. We definitely are going to have you back, and we'll talk about hand planes.
Maybe we will talk about hand planes next time.
We're gonna start with whatever's on your back wall. So next time we meet, you're gonna have planes or old Roy Underhill signs or something behind you where we know we're talking hand tools.
Okay. I actually have a wall that's got chisels all the way across it, and I do want to make a saw tote and a hand plane till. So
how long will that take to create?
We'll give you a couple of weeks to do it, and that way you'll say, "Oh man, I got to be on this podcast. I got to get this done."
Yeah, it'll give me the kick in the butt I need.
There you go.
And I would like to see one of the shavings that you have from that that hand plane that you said was almost like you could see through.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have that too, just so we can see it. I mean, it's impressive.
It's on my Instagram.
Oh,
It's
that's
on my
funny.
Instagram somewhere.
Welcome to this episode of This Old Chris.
I love Roy Underhill from Woodwright Shop, and he's kind of my inspiration for getting into all of this. So he deserves a shout out.
Absolutely. And Angus says Team Roman OG. He started his own group. But no, Roy Underhill's he's a force to be reckoned with for sure.
Show me your knuckles. Your knuckles aren't all busted up, so he can't be too big of an inspiration.
No, it's pretty pathetic.
Yeah.
But
maybe you should. Maybe it looks like you've been using some of your coworkers' smelly hand lotion because they're all soft looking. They're not rough and textured and all busted up from,
How do you know they're soft, Chris?
I can tell by how clean they look.
Well, on this episode of Whatnot Podcast, we go from turning to hand tools to hand care. Don't know how we got there, but we thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, you never know where it's going to go with the Klingspor team. So,
isn't that the truth? Especially with the technical team. Welcome aboard.
Especially in the store. Go out in the store for an hour.
Yeah, that would just be an
Listen, you're talking to two former managers of the store, so don't talk to us about I had to work in the store because that's not going to work with us.
Well, I was the former assistant manager. So.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
Almost made it there. Almost. Only got assistant to the store manager.
Well, Randy will be there until he dies, so it ain't anytime soon.
Yeah, he's not moving any faster.
No.
So what real quick, so being a store manager, what is the longest days in a row you had to work by yourself, Chris? Go.
By myself?
Yeah.
I don't think I've actually ever worked a day by myself.
See, you can't say a word.
I have had to open and close every single day for 2 months, though.
Ooh.
That's rough.
Brutal. That's a long day.
Yeah. That's a long 2 months.
Chris Smith, Mr. Team Roundover, what was your streak?
Man, I don't even remember it. There were times where it was me and I had one part-timer. That was it.
Well,
and that part-timer guy worked 2, maybe 3 days a week during that streak. So you can start doing the math and figuring that out.
Was it Gary?
No, he's not there anymore.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but yeah, it let's just say it was, the struggle was real. But hey, you know what? Things are bigger and better now.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of realizations to what it takes to get things moving. And hey,
better late than never. We're here.
Good company.
Absolutely. Otherwise,
I like working there because it supports my woodworking addiction.
It supports my hobbyist workshop.
I always made the joke that the first paycheck, well, actually the first 2 paychecks, we never get paid. We just turn around and buy tools.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you want to work here, you're not going to have the first 2 paychecks. Why can't I have the first 2 paychecks? You're going to spend them on tools. Oh, that makes sense.
My first paycheck I spent on nothing but carving tools. I think it was all gone, especially being in college. I was a stupid college kid, so I spent the entire paycheck.
You're just a stupid college dropout.
Yeah.
Ow.
Sorry, I had to go there. If I didn't know you like I do, I wouldn't have said that. But yeah, that's
that's quality entertainment. But no, spend all your money on hand tools.
Believe
not
me,
lotions,
I know.
Not lotions.
I'm out there. I'm out there every day. Like, okay, what do I need for the CNC? So yeah, I understand.
Have you got that 16th bit yet?
Yeah.
Okay. You were out in the store debating on it for like a month, I swear.
Yeah, I ended up buying 2, and I'm glad I did because I broke both of them.
No, you don't.
No, I've got another one since then.
Ah.
So
you bought 3 since then.
The struggle is real.
Yeah, so if you want to get into CNC, become a router bit or CNC bit manufacturer because that's where the money's made.
Or
Or
marry
just hang out
one,
with
or
Chris Miller for a little bit.
Ay, ay, ay.
knowledgeable people. But
All right.
well, I'll tell you what, this has been fun. You know,
Yeah.
we've turned our lives around, learning about turning, and
Emotion.
you know,
And turning.
yeah, as the wood shop turns, it's our
How
own
many
little
more
soap
do you think
opera
you
here.
can fit in the last 5 minutes?
I don't know. I mean, you know me. They just come here and then they go out, and then you know they make sense in my head a lot of times.
And that's why you repeat them?
Sometimes.
All right.
He'll
Well,
say him anyways.
yeah, he'll say them anyways, just to see what the reaction is. Was this a good one or a bad one? Throw it out there, see what
Yeah,
sticks.
I got to know which compartment to put it in for later if I ever have to draw on it.
And if it's a good one, just stick it in your front pocket.
Was he the assistant to the assistant regional manager? No. Assistant to the store manager, retail store manager. Fun.
Yep.
Fun times.
I picked up on the Office reference, even though these other two Goombas didn't. So
No, I didn't.
I got the reference. I just don't care. It's The Office, in my opinion.
as a matter of fact, Bears Beats and Battlestar Galactica. My own little Office T-shirt.
You made that?
No,
That's when you know you're a nerd.
that's a Dwight Schrute.
Well, actually, yeah. Since I'm actually wearing a T-shirt for once, mine
Wait,
is.
normally you don't
Walrus
wear
Oil.
shirts?
No, I don't wear T-shirts.
Oh, okay.
Mine was the Walrus Oil Company, not sponsored,
Not sponsored.
but it is one of the most comfy T-shirts. I'll tell you what.
But could be.
That's right. Welcome to Walrus Oil Hour.
I just got a Carhartt on, you know. Since we're talking about our shirts, I just got a Carhartt, man.
Go ahead, dude, not sponsored. Since apparently last week's guest might have something in the books with that particular company, but we weren't allowed to mention it, he got mad.
Really?
Not too bad, no, but he was just like, I'm not talking about that. It was great. I tried to put him on the spot. False.
True. I don't know what that is.
I'm just going to go with tiny violin. Because you had to open and close. That's all. Yeah, tiny violin. You want some cheese with that wine? Okay.
How about you cry me a river, build me a bridge, and get over it?
That's a quality saying right there. Well, Chris, both Chris's, thank you for joining us tonight on the Whatnot podcast, where we put the what into an hour and a half whatnot.
Yeah, come back and join us again soon, and maybe we'll be talking hand planes, but we'll have to see.
I'll get my wall done, man.
Gotta get your wall done. Now you got a time frame, so Chris will book it, and then you have to get it done.
Yeah, right now it's tough. I'm not sure when my daughter's going to call and say, "Hey, Dad, I'm having a baby. It's time to come to Louisiana." So I'm still waiting on those words, and we'll see how that goes over the next week or two. But
Best of luck, Grandpa.
yeah, I'm feeling it.
You're losing all your hair.
Yeah, losing. Try lost. But yeah, we thank you for coming on, and thank everybody for watching us. Don't forget you
Thanks
can
for
check
having
us out on not only the podcast, but all your favorite social media sites. You most likely will find us there.
Yep. And sometimes we'll post some stuff. I know I'm going to go back and get all the old shows and put them on IGTV. That way people can just sit and watch them. Maybe not the original ones, but, some of the newer, better upgraded microphone ones.
Once we started with 3 people.
Yeah. 3 people's when it really changed and took off.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll have a fourth.
Some of the first couple were pretty odd, but hey, Anyway, this was fun.
You got to start somewhere.
Congratulations on your lathe getting fixed.
Yep.
And completing your tool wall. Now you can start working on the plane wall. Let us know when that's done, and we'll see if we can't get you back on.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. So also book Josh while he's here. He said, "See you guys tomorrow." Mike, hope to see you soon. Yes, sir. But yeah, book him up, and we'll figure out. I need pictures or him to go live from his basement so we can see all of those fantastic tools still in the plastic.
In the box.
You'll see him in a very small corner of his basement.
But you know what? Maybe he's smart. Maybe he's hoarding for the great tool shortage of 2021.
It's already there. It's already here.
Yeah, while everybody's trying to buy complete shops and can't because they're on a container, Josh is sitting there like, I bought mine last year.
I say it to you, it's a devil.
But
Alrighty. So again, thank you very much for joining us, Chris. This was a lot of fun, and
Yep.
Thank you
I
for having
learned
me.
way more than I knew. So I'm happy about that. I always like it whenever I learn something. I'm never the
You
expert
should
of anything. But,
you should learn something new every day.
yep. And then when we have you on for the hand tools, get me a picture of the moccasin, not the moccasins, but the entire outfit. I almost call it a
Okay.
costume, but I watched it. Yeah, because I would like to at least showcase it. I think people need to understand the time and the effort that went into that.
Yeah. In the moccasins alone, I probably have about 30 hours.
And you still have them.
And I have more than one pair.
Oh, there you go. Okay, it's all there. It's already there.
Yep.
He's ready to go for that, so we'll take care of that. So
Yep.
we'll go ahead and run out of here. Everyone have a great evening. Thank you for joining us and all the comments tonight. We really do appreciate it. If you have comments after the show, leave them, because don't forget he's coming back for hand tool stuff.
Yep. And we'll see you next time.
All righty. Bye, Chris. Bye, Chris.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia.